Salawat is good, but it's salawat of somebody who's really tired after a long day. It's not the one who's really coming here wanting to celebrate the birth of Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. So sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. قد سال قلبي في هواك قصيدا فطفقت أنظم عن علاك عقودا إني موال فيك هام حبه إني موال فيك هام حبه فغدا بمولدك السعيد بل فيك قد سعدت ملائكة السماء فأتت لتهنئة الرسول وفودا هبطت إليه ملائك تسعى إلى وتباشرت حور الجنان بأن رب العرش أعطى للنبي حفيدا. أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقرآنه الحميد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله الذي خلقكم من ضعف ثم جعل من بعد ضعف قوة ثم جعل من بعد ضعف قوة ثم جعل من بعد قوة ضعفا وشيبة يخلق ما يشاء وهو العليم القدير. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Psychologists and scholars say there are factors that affect the human being in his personality and the way he becomes. They mention three main factors. We will add an additional fourth later. The first one is the genetic factor, genes. Genes indeed play a role phenotypically, meaning basically when you look at the individual, genes play a role. Two parents, for example, say if both of them have blue eyes, then most probably the child will also have blue eyes. That's a genetic factor. The parents are tall, again, most probably the child may become tall as well. Unless, of course, they carry some other gene. You might have two individuals, for example, with dark eyes. The son or the daughter comes out blonde. It's probably because they're carrying a recessive gene. A man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I am brown. Look at me. I'm dark. My wife is like me. And he brought his son. He says, look at my son. He's blonde. This is not my son. My wife probably has cheated on me. This is not my son. So, the Prophet ﷺ recognized, of course, the laws of genetics. And that's why we say all prophets know not just religious laws, but rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches them and gives them all kinds of information. They know about biology, they know about physics, chemistry, etc. They know it all, because they need it. Here the Prophet ﷺ, if he had not known about the laws of genetics, what would he say? Say, you know what, let me take some blood sample here and let's do some genetic analysis and DNA work. Of course not. It doesn't work. Even today, in this day and age, with all this technology that we have, if a person comes to the doctor and says, can you tell who's my son, who's not? They can't just by looking at him tell. They say we have to do some tests. And even the test, nothing is 100% accurate, but we have to do some tests. So, the prophets, all of them, including our Prophet ﷺ and our Imams ﷺ, they have this knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ recognized the laws of genetics. So he told him, what do you do for a living? He said, I grow camels. He said, okay, good. Have you ever had a case where you had a brown camel with another brown camel, but then the offspring is like a red camel? He said, yes, I've seen that happen before. He said, the same thing has happened here in your case as well. So, this is your son, take him and go. Now the Prophet ﷺ spoke in very simple language that he could understand. If he had spoken about DNA and all these genetics and all that stuff, then I would have been lost. So he spoke a simple language that he understood, but it tells us that he understands these laws of genetics and the hereditary laws. That's with regards to physical aspects, but besides physical aspects, there are some also manneral aspects of things. For example, a person whose dad and mom are both generous, then there is a good chance he may also become generous. So that aspect of the hereditary factor is also important. That's why our Prophet ﷺ came to say, اختاروا لنطفكم إن العرق دساس. I were to translate this hadith in modern language, contemporary language, say, choose your spouses carefully, because genetics play a role. Play a role. Now, the Prophet used simple language to make people understand. So that's the genetic aspect. One. Besides the genetic aspect, though, there's another aspect, and that is the upbringing. So the genes do play a role, but the personality factor, the upbringing is very important. Taking care of that child, for example, giving him love, showing him compassion, then that kind of upbringing is very important. In Vancouver, Canada, a year ago, last year, there was a case that really shook people. What happened is there was a student studying at the university there. She was studying psychology and criminology. This student was doing so well, she was in third year, that all her professors were encouraging her to become a graduate student. She was very intelligent. Until one day, she went to her roommate and started to talk to her roommate about some of the things that she has done to animals and some of the things she wants to do with humans. And she's saying that what I'm going to try is I'm going to go to the area in Vancouver where there are a lot of homeless people, and I will begin with them. I'll experiment on them. So this roommate, of course, got scared and called the police. The police came in, they launched an investigation. Turned out that indeed there is some animal cruelty. This person has done some cruel things to animals. And she apparently was planning to do some cruel things to humans. And apparently she was studying criminology and psychology to be able to escape from being caught. Now when I heard this case, now of course, they could not really judge her on anything that she wanted to do, because she hadn't done anything to humans yet. So they only charged her with animal cruelty, that's it. But they determined this individual is what's called is a psychopath. She's a psychopath. She has some problems. Now, when I heard this news, this was like, on the radio, I was listening to this, a question came to my mind, and I was wondering, I was like, I'm curious as to what was her childhood like. I wonder if they will say anything about her childhood in the radio show right now. And guess what? So later, yes, they start talking about her childhood. This girl, apparently, she comes from a European country, which was war-torn, and she was in an orphanage for 8 months of her life. 8 months. She was adopted to Canada by parents, by adopted parents, at the age of 8 months. When I heard this, then things started to make sense. There is a previous report that I read about, this is a long time ago, which suggests that children who are not shown any compassion, any love, any affection, these ones will grow to have anger against society, and that may develop into crime. Within the first 8 months, interestingly. And those of you who have children, I'm sure you can relate. When your child is 6 months old, he or she can feel and understand a lot of things. Now, even younger, they can still feel and understand a lot of things. Go to a 1-week-old child. I mean, don't do this, but if you pinch him, what will he do? He'll cry. Why is he crying? He's feeling insecurity. Whereas if you take him, you hug him, you comfort him, he'll keep quiet. Why did he keep quiet? Because you made him feel secure. So he feels, she feels. At 6 months, most of you know, they can even understand what's going on here around them. They interact with the environment, they respond. Imagine if all they're seeing is beatings, God forbid, or lack of affection. A baby, when he or she, for example, cries in the bedroom, you find the mother or the father running to him and making him comfortable. Why is he crying? Maybe he's not hungry, maybe he's scared. He wakes up, the room is dark, or he doesn't see anyone next to him, he cries. He's feeling lack of security. Now, when the mother or the father goes to him, he feels secure, they secure him. And hence, slowly he keeps quiet. What if you don't go to him? What's going to happen? They'll remain crying, they'll be frightened. And maybe after some time, yes, he'll get tired and go back to sleep again. But he's still not feeling secure. And this will drag on. This will have consequences. So that's important, the upbringing here. That's why it's important for the parents to always provide an environment of peace and security in the house. If parents want to argue, do not argue in front of children. Keep it after children are gone to sleep. Go to the room, for example, and you want to talk things quietly between the two of you. But not in front of them. They understand. And they will react. There was a case that was brought to a psychologist where parents brought their 5-year-old child, a daughter. And this daughter cries like anything. My God, I mean, 5 years old, she's a bit older now, but yet she's making the lives of the parents miserable. So they brought her to a psychologist to ask what's going on here. After some investigation, the psychologist realizes that the parents, apparently at home, they argue a lot. When this daughter, one day, she was a little child, let's say 2 or 3 years of age, she saw the parents are fighting, so she starts crying. She got scared and she cries. When she started crying, what happened? The parents turned their attention to who? with a child. They stopped arguing and they started concentrating on the child. This child realized, I want to stop my parents from fighting. This is what I need to do. Now, kids are a lot smarter than what you think they are. They're very smart, very alert. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the ability to be very observant. And in fact, that's how they learn. I mean, how will they learn otherwise? They observe things we may not really look at. And one day you'll see, take a look at your son or daughter, for example, 3 years old, 2 years old. See what they're doing. They're doing something maybe that you're doing without even thinking about. And all of a sudden, you find them doing it. That's why I tell you, brothers and sisters, bring your children here to this place. They see the salat, they see the ibadah, they see us giving a lecture. And before you know it, as you go home, one day you'll find them praying or imitating how to pray, or even saying some of the words that they hear in the majlis. Some of the words. They will repeat it. So that's how they learn. So she figured that out. And every time the parents would argue, the daughter would cry. That's what she does. Until things started to get out of hand. But that was the root cause of the problem. So, the upbringing is very important. That second, and the third thing they say is the environment. The environment. What kind of environment do you provide this individual with? That has a consequence on a child. One day I was reading the news, this was one of those videos that go viral, those viral videos. A 2-year-old boy, he's playing the song of a particular singer, a very famous singer, and he's dancing to it. MashaAllah, you should see him how he's dancing to this song, at the age of 2. And so the parents videoed him, and they put the video and, they posted it online and it became viral, how cute this kid. But when you look at him, 2-year-old, where did he learn all that stuff from? It's that environment in which he's living in. That's the environment. Whereas, I have some friends who are the ulama, and scholars and khutaba, they say, our son would pick up my imamah and put it on his head. And he would sit and start to lecture at the age of 2 or 3. Where did he learn that from? The environment. That's the environment he's grown up in. So the environment plays a big role. And this environmental factor can actually go a bit longer beyond the kids' years, the infancy stages. That's why we have ahadith that tell us, avoid bad friends. Avoid them. Stay away from bad friends. In fact, Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam tells Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, says, son, avoid the stingy man. Somebody who's bakhil, stingy, doesn't give money. Avoid him. Don't be friends with him. Because he will desert you and leave you at a time when you are in most need. Things happen. Life, goes up and down. The wheel never stays up, nor does it ever stay down. It's turning. One day, things go bad. You might be in need of some cash. You might need of some help to make things, meet. You go to him, oh, sorry, I have, this business is not going so well, and he just gives you excuses. When you most need it. He won't help you. So stay away from this individual. Second, stay away from an individual who does not establish relationship with his family, his own kin. He leaves his mother, he leaves his father, he says, I don't care about you. This is my life. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ وَلَدٌ عَاقَ أو بنت عاق وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. This individual, don't be friends with him. Because if he cannot show appreciation to his mother and father who brought him to this world, who took care of him, who really invested their time and their age and their love on him, you think he'll show appreciation to you? You think he'll be loyal to you? Yes, maybe one day he'll come to you and says, I'm a good friend, I love you and all that stuff. But when things really become sour, says, ma'asalama, forget it. Whereas a person who really respects his parents, his family, You understand their value. This person will appreciate you. That's 2. 3, he says, avoid someone who's a liar. A liar. Come and try this, weed. Take it. It's really good. It makes you forget things. Doesn't tell you what are the consequences. Later on, what's going to happen here? What if you get used to this stuff? First of all, it's haram. It's not allowed. It doesn't tell you that stuff. Let's go on a Friday night. Let's go out partying. Forget about all this stuff. Husseiniya, whatever that stuff. Who cares about this? Let's go enjoy our life. We're too young. Doesn't tell you what are the consequences of this life. Where are you going to end up at the end of this life? What's going to happen? Doesn't show you that stuff. He paints a picture that's like a mirage. Beautiful on the outside. But inside there's nothing. There's nothing in there. That's a liar. So stay away from there. Such an individual. And stay away from a fasiq. Fasiq. Wal-'iyadhu billah. Fasiq is someone who openly disobeys the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In public. And he takes pride in it. This is what I do. Such an individual, stay away from him. Because he will take you to Jahannam with him. He's going to Jahannam, unless he does tawbah, of course. He repents. But otherwise, you're going to go with him. He'll drag you with him. I have seen cases, men at the age of 40, you think these guys are now sobered up, now they're awake, now they understand. Fire. So, that age, bad friends will teach them how to gamble, gambling. You think at that age, people are grown up. But subhanAllah, this bad friends, this bad environment, that bad come, it's only a small case, small scale. We only gamble by $100, nothing more than $100. Well, slowly things start to get serious. The 100 becomes 2, the 2 becomes 1,000, and so on and so forth. That's where the addiction starts from. That's why Islam came and said haram from the beginning. Don't open the door and then figure out how to figure it out, how to cure it. Close it from the beginning. It's haram. So you see that kind of influence from a fasiq, wal-'iyadhu billah. He'll destroy your life. He'll ruin you. And he says also avoid, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the 5th kind of person is avoid somebody who's ahmaq. Ahmaq is an idiot. But I want to clarify something, because we may have a misconception. We might find somebody who doesn't get, for example, all straight A's, that person is not so smart. That's wrong. A person who, no matter how intelligent he is, he could be a Nobel laureate, like there has been a Nobel laureate who one day came to receive his Nobel Prize, and he said that man has to accept that he is an accident. That was he said. Man has to accept that he's an accident. It was a random act of evolution. That's what it is. That's how human being came into existence. This person, to me, with all due respect, is an idiot. He's a Nobel laureate. He's a professor at the university. He's very successful in his career. But if that individual, at that level, cannot realize that Allah is a creator, Allah is a designer, then I don't really understand what to call this person, really, otherwise. That's why you find these days, especially those scholars who study astronomy, astronomers, more and more of them are becoming believers. Because they realize this can't come as a coincidence. It's impossible. All this perfection. The other day I was talking with one of the mu'mineen. He tells me when I was studying at the university, there was a person who was studying with us, dentistry. And when he was studying, the jaws and how things work out in the jaws, how tubes are connected. So this person came to me once and said, I can't understand how this all may have happened through a coincidence. All these tubings and all these perfections and all these canals and all this, it can't have happened through a random process. It's too perfect to be random. So that kind of an individual who, according to Imam, say he will come to benefit you, but he will harm you. He thinks he's helping you. God, what do you mean thinking, believing in God? There is no God. People are fooling you with this. Come on, man, wake up. Hijab, what do you mean hijab? Take off, enjoy. All nonsense. Salat, my boy, my friend. What do you mean salat? We're out on a movie. Let's go watch a movie. Well, the time of salat comes. Oh, forget about it. Let's go for the movie. A few years ago, I went with some friends to a Man United game. You guys know Man United? That's Man United, Boys sometimes go crazy about it. Even girls sometimes go crazy about it. A friend of mine comes and says, I have tickets to a Man United game. I said, okay, listen, man. No problem, we'll go to it. But at the time of salat, we're going to have to, get out and pray. He said, okay, sure. So we go there. We start watching the game, and the time of salat comes. One of the brothers says, it's time of salat, let's get out. Let's get out. So another guy says, what if they score? I mean, this is a live match. This is not recorded. If they score, we're going to miss out. I told him, I don't care, man. No. Who cares if they score? We want to go and pray to Allah. It's time for prayers. I said, okay, sure. So we get up, we go pray our salat in the stadium itself. So we bless the stadium, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. And we go back in. I swear to you guys, the minute we walked in, we sat down, they scored. So one of those guys prayed really hard. And they ended up winning that match as well. So I told them, see, we bless them. We should take commission from them. Time of salat comes, time of salat. I don't care if it's a Man United game or whatever. Salat. Oh, who cares? Let's watch the game. No, salat. I pray. That's somebody who's an ahmaq, an idiot. He thinks he's trying to help you out. Watch the game because what if you lose it? What if you miss the goal? What if they score? He thinks he's trying to help you out. But in fact, he's hurting you. So such individuals, that environmental aspect really affects the human being. So those three things, they say the genetic factor, the upbringing, and the environmental aspect. In Islam there is a fourth thing, and that is the spiritual aspect as well. That is also a factor. That is from the ilm al-ghayb, that is the unseen world. There is a man, for example, who he used to pray Salatul Layl, he used to pray Salat on time, and he used to enjoy Salat, enjoy. All of a sudden, one day, he realized he's not enjoying Salat anymore, the way he used to. Salatul Layl, he has to push himself out of bed, he has to drag himself out of bed to pray Salatul Layl. So one day he became very, feeling very bad, and he started crying. He said, Ya Allah, what happened to me? I used to pray Salat, I used to enjoy Salat. Indeed, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, إِنَّ لِلْإِيمَانِ حَلَاوَةً حَلَاوَةً. Iman has a beautiful taste, a sweet taste. You guys ate, alhamdulillah, baqlawa tonight? You see how sweet it was? Iman has a similar taste. In fact, I will tell you something. Laylatul Qadr, which is coming up in a few days. Stay up the whole night, not just the last night, all 3 nights of Qadr. Stay up until Fajr. Try it and see. Do an experiment. Once you stayed up the whole night, when the time of Fajr comes, you'll feel that you're feeling so good. You'll feel a sense of gratification, a sense of joy. Try it. Don't take my word for it. Try it. What is that sense of joy? That sense of ibadah, that sense of obedience, that, Ya Allah, I managed to stay up the whole night. I read Dua al-Jawshan, Dua Abu Hamza, I read some Quran, I prayed 100 rak'ah salat, I did this and this, Salatul Layl. Ilahi, thank you. Thank you, Ya Allah. You'll feel a joy, happiness, a gratification. Anytime you do something for the sake of Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially if that thing has some sort of a struggle, you'll feel a gratification, happiness, sense of joy. You will. Try it. You don't wear hijab, put it on and see what it's like. And you'll see, it's not easy. But you'll feel, my gosh, this does feel good. I feel good because I obey Allah. It feels good. Yes, it's difficult. People will harass me, bother me. That's good. Praying salat on time. At work, take time off, go pray. At university, go pray. Salat on time. It's not easy. It takes discipline to do so. But you'll see the taste, the beauty. You'll enjoy it. Pray Salatul Layl. Try it. Salatul Layl. This is the month of Ramadan. Pray it. You'll find that you'll feel good. Because Salatul Layl is not easy. You have to wake up in the middle of the night. You need to pray. Well, these nights is not too difficult because you already get up to eat your suhoor. But outside of Ramadan, it's a bit of a challenge. But you do it. See how you feel. It's a taste. So this man said, Ya Allah, I feel the state. The state is gone from me. What happened, Ya Allah? What happened to me? Ya Allah, help me. Help me. He goes to sleep. He sees himself in the dream. It's like a video of him. 2 weeks ago, he was buying dates. And he sees it as if it's being rewind. He himself is buying dates from the shop. The shopkeeper takes the dates, puts it in a bag, and then he gives it to the man. The man pays him. The shopkeeper takes the money, turns it back, turns around so that he can get him the change. These few seconds, this man looks at the bag, he finds one of those dates is old. So he puts it back and he grabs another date in its tray. This place. Without the knowledge of the shopkeeper. This is something fiqhi here. It's just a fiqhi aspect, it's jurisprudence. When you buy something as a bulk, you take it as a bulk. If there is some of it that you don't like, you either return the whole bulk, but you can't return one by itself. Unless the shopkeeper is okay with that. It's a fiqhi aspect of things. So now, when he bought the bulk, he did not inform the shopkeeper about this one. So, what he did was illegal from the religious point of view. He exchanged only one date. And then he heard a voice telling him, this one date that you ate caused you to lose the taste of your iman, of your salat. Now, how many dates have we eaten, for God's sake? This man has eaten only one date. So we really have to watch. That was the spiritual aspects of things. So imagine if we feed our children something haram. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. What is the consequence? Remember I said that this haram food could be killing that child. Spiritually kills him or her. That's important. That spiritual dimension. That ghaibi dimension. The unseen dimension. So the next day he goes to that shopkeeper, this man, and he gets an apology from him. He says, I'm sorry, this is what happened a couple weeks ago. Please forgive me for it. He says, no problem. Don't worry about it. Go. Now things went back to normal. See that? Now if we take a look at those 4 parameters in the life of Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, let's examine his life. Looking at him from the genetic aspect of things. Well, his mother is Fatimah al-Zahra alayha salam. His father is Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. His grandfather is Rasulullah and grandmother is Khadija. The best genes you can ever have from anywhere in the world. That is his genes. One day, Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, when he became the Khalifa, he went to Kufa and he started cursing Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. While the 2 of them were sitting, Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam were sitting down. Imam al-Hussein wanted to get up and respond. Imam al-Hassan told him, wait, Ya Abu Abdullah, hold on, I'll take care of this. So then Imam al-Hassan got up and he said, "O you who spoke about Ali," referring to Muawiyah, "I am Hassan and you are Muawiyah. My mother is Fatima, and your mother is Hind. My father is Ali ibn Abi Talib, and your father is Sakhr. My grandfather is Rasulullah, and your grandfather is Harb. My grandmother is Khadija, and your grandmother is Qatiba or Qatila. So may Allah curse the one with the worst genes, and one with the worst lineage, and the one with the most kufr in his blood. And he steps down. A beautiful way and a beautiful response. This is who I am and this is who you are, Ya Muawiyah. What have you got to say? So may Allah curse. فَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْأَمَنَ حَسَبًا. That's my hasab, that's my family, and who's your family? وَأَشَرَّنَا قَدَمًا. The one who was worst in his family. And وَأَكْثَرُنَا وَأَقْدَمُنَا كُفْرًا وَنِفَاقًا. That's an interesting word. He says the one who is aqdam, farthest in his kufr and in his hypocrisy. Imam's lineage has no kufr nor hypocrisy. In his whole lineage. We read to his brother Imam al-Hussein, we say, أَشْهَدُ أَنَّكَ كُنْتَ نُورًا فِي الْأَصْلَابِ الشَّامِخَةِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ الْمُطَهَّرَةِ. The same thing applies to Imam al-Hasan, alayhi salam. He also was nur. None of his forefathers up to Adam, alayhi salam, was a kafir. None of them. Both men, fathers or mothers. They were all muwahhideen, believers in Allah. So, that is the genetic aspect of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. This is where he gets his genes from. The best upbringing. Well, let's look at the upbringing of Imam al-Hasan salamullahi alayhi. He narrates himself this hadith, and this hadith is also narrated by his sister Zainab alayhi salam. Both of them narrate the same hadith. They say, we saw our mother Fatima alayhi salam one night, which was Laylatul Jumu'ah, Thursday night, the eve of Friday. She stayed up the whole night in ibadah, praying to Allah. And she was praying to her neighbors, to the neighbors. When she finished by the time of dawn, we asked her, Mother, we heard you mentioning the names of our neighbors, but you never mentioned our names in your dua. She told me, son or daughter, Al-Jar thumma ad-Dar. You mentioned the neighbors first, and then you. Now, what is this teaching Al-Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam? First of all, this tells us that Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam kept Imam al-Hasan and Zainab and Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam awake the whole night. That's one. Awake doing what? PlayStation? Xbox? TV? No. Watching her doing ibadah, praying salats. That's one thing. This implants things here. That's why Zainab al-Kubra alayha salam, on the 10th day of Muharram at night, the eve of the 11th, Laylat al-Hadi Ashar, after she's lost Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, on that difficult night, very difficult. No men, no support, no help, the tents have been burnt. Children were running all over the place, she had to gather the children. It was a very difficult night for her. And Zainab alayhi salam was a woman in her mid-50s. When we think of Zainab alayhi salam, sometimes we think of this young lady who can run. She was in her mid-50s, about 55 years of age. This woman at the age of 55, that difficult day, Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam says, I saw my aunt Zainab that night praying Salatul Layl. that night. But there was one difference. She was praying while she was sitting down, not standing up. And I asked her, I said, "Aunt, why are you praying while you're sitting down?" She said, "I have no strength in me anymore. I'm too tired. So I'm praying while..." Now, in that night, what made Zainab pray that Salatul Layl that night? It's that day or that night when she saw her mother praying all night long. It came back so many years later. That's what she's teaching her children. That's the upbringing. Second, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, she made sure Hassan and Hussein and Zainab alayhi salam hear her, listen to her. Because Imam al-Hassan says, "I was listening to my mother." So he was listening. It's important. And then, I did not hear him or her talking about us or praying for us. She's teaching her son, "Son, we need to be thinking of other people." Now we are not at the level where we are at the case, al-jar thumma ad-dar, neighbors then us. At least let's put them together, al-jar wa ad-dar. At least that's us. Al-jar thumma ad-dar is a very high status. We're not there. But at least we can think of other people, help other people. That's why Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was known as Karimu Ali Muhammad. The generous one of Ali Muhammad. He used to be so generous. Gifts. How did he learn? Yes, maybe genes. But the mother and the father, they made this gene flourish. They gave that trait a boost. We may have some good genes, generosity, things, but the mother and the father would help nourish and nurture this kind of behavior and attitude. So teach your children about akhlaq of generosity, being polite, respectful, helpful. This all begins from the childhood. That's what Zainab Zahra alayhi salam was doing to Imam al-Hassan. That upbringing was very important. That kind of teachings. It is said Imam al-Hassan several times, he donated all his money, all of it. He takes all things and gives it all to the poor, and then starts from scratch again. Now we're not at that level, but we can learn. We can learn. That's the upbringing. Third, the environmental aspects. Environmental. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam kept Imam al-Hassan with him and Imam al-Hussein with him. He surrounded their lives and showered their lives from the minute he was born. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam on the 15th of Sha'ban of Ramadan, third year after Hijrah. The Prophet came so happy. Allah has granted him a grandson. He hugs him, he kisses him. He says adhan on his right ear and the iqamah in his left ear. And then at the age of 7 days, he shaves his hair, he weighs it, and he donates silver in sadaqah. And he slaughters a sheep and donates it to the poor, which became a sunnah known as aqiqah. Aqqa'an. Aqqa'an means he slaughtered a sheep after 7 days. When the child is 7 days old, you slaughter a sheep and you shave the head or the hair. Weigh it. How much is it? You donate either gold or silver, the weight of it. Became sunnah. And he named him Hassan. Hassan. From that time, was with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, in my next lecture I will talk more about that kind of bringing. The Prophet's role. So, he raised him, he taught him. That really influenced. That was the environment in which Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam grew up in. With Rasulullah, with Amir al-Mu'mineen, with Fatima alayhi salam. That is important. And fourth, the spiritual aspects. Imam al-Hasan salamullahi alayhi, it's needless to speak about his spirituality, his ethics, his akhlaq. He travels to Hajj 25 times, walking barefoot. 25 times from Medina to Mecca. He's sitting in the masjid one day doing i'tikaf, which is recommended in the month of Ramadan. At least 3 days you go to a masjid, not a center, just a religious center, but rather a masjid. And you spend 3 nights or 3 days in that masjid, just remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was doing i'tikaf, a man comes to him, he says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, I have a haja, I have a need, help me. Imam says, let's go. So he picks up his abaya and he walks off the masjid. Another man who was next to him says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, did you forget about your i'tikaf? You can't leave the masjid when you're in the state of i'tikaf. He said, I have not forgotten about my i'tikaf, but this is qada hajat al-mu'min. Mu'min needs help, so I'm going to go help him. And that's why our fuqaha has now made exceptions. When they study this story, they say it is permissible to leave the masjid from i'tikaf if you're going to go to help another mu'min who's in need of help. It's permissible. There are exceptions. He goes. That's why try to help mu'mineen. If you see a mu'min in need of help, help him. Try to give him. If he needs money, give him money. If he needs advice, give him advice. If he needs just moral support, give him that moral support. Sometimes all that he wants is just really a good word. That's all he needs. Give him that good word. Be kind to them. This was the life of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam in a nutshell. That's what made him Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, about whom the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa says him and his brother Hussein are Sayyiday Shababi Ahlul Jannah. They are the masters of the youth of Jannah. Al-Hasan wal-Hussein imaman qama aw qa'ada. Imam Hasan and Hussein are imams, leaders. Whether people put them in the leadership position or they keep them away from it. They are the leaders. They are the hujjah. They are the khulafa. Irrespective of what people do. They are the leaders. This was Imam al-Hasan. But he had to struggle a lot, especially after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Amir al-Mu'mineen was martyred in the year 40 after Hijrah. Imam al-Hasan stayed for 10 years after him. The first 6 months after the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, people pledged their allegiance to Imam al-Hasan and he became the Khalifa. 6 months of continuous war with Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan bribing and killing the companions of Imam Ali alayhi salam and those who are ill-hearted, in the sense they're weak in their faith. He started buying them out. So people started to convert over to the other side. Imam al-Hasan realized he has no help, no support. And Muawiyah started killing the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, his dearest companions, the faithful ones. Hijr ibn Adi, radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, got killed. Amr ibn Hamr al-Khuza'i, radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, gets killed. And they kill him in Mosul. Then they put his head on a spear and they take it to Sham. It was the first head to be put on a spear in Islam. The head of Amr ibn Hamr al-Khuza'i, radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, a great mu'min. That's not to mention those who got killed during the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Like Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, Malik al-Ashkar radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, Ammar ibn Yasir radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, Uwais al-Qarani, and many others. Great personalities, which made one day Imam Ali sit on the minbar and he started to cry. قال أين عمار أين ابن التيهان أين ذو الشهادتين? Where are my companions? They are gone. They are gone. ألا أيها الدهر الذي ليس بتاركي أرحني فقد أفنيت كل خليلي أراك بصيرا بالذين أحبهم وكأنك تسعى نحوهم بدليلي. This is the words of Imam Ali alayhi salam himself. This is his poetry. My friends are being killed. I'm being left alone. And this consequence or this suffering was continued by Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. He realized he's alone. What's going to happen is Muawiyah will kill him. And in fact he tried to kill him several times. So he realized that the only way to save the Shia, to save Islam, was to do a peace treaty. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa did a peace treaty in Hudaybiyah with the mushrikeen. That peace treaty in Hudaybiyah exposed the mushrikeen, exposed them. Exposed their betrayal, their lies. And here Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam also wanted to expose Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan and his lies. So it worked really well, indeed. Because among the conditions of the treaty is that you will not be killing any more of the Shia of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, sure. Imam al-Hasan said, I will not call you by Imrat al-Mu'mineen. I will not call you Amir al-Mu'mineen. He said, I don't care. Don't call me Amir al-Mu'mineen. But that's an important thing. If he doesn't call Amir al-Mu'mineen, so what is he then? There you go. So Imam al-Hasan, and there are many other conditions. Many other conditions there. He put there, among them that if you die, I will become the Khalifa. And if I'm dead, my brother Hussein will become the Khalifa. Muawiyah went against each and every one of those conditions. When Imam al-Hasan then gets killed, Muawiyah, orders the wife of Imam al-Hasan, he plots with her, one of his wives, by the name of Ju'dah bint al-Ash'af, that you give him poison and I will pay you a big money for it. And so she did. Unfortunately, Imam al-Hasan gets poisoned and killed in the year 50 after Hijrah, at the age of about 47, 48 approximately. And then they bring him to bury him next to his grandfather Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. But some people come up and they deny him to be buried next to his grandfather Rasulullah. Ibn Abbas talks to one of those people. He was with Imam al-Hasan, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Radwanullah ta'ala alayh. He was with Imam al-Hussein, with Abu al-Fadl Abbas, Bani Hashim. They're coming, bringing the body of Imam al-Hasan to bury him next to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. One of those people says, no, you can't bury him there. Ibn Abbas turns to that individual, tells that individual, one day you come riding a camel, and another day you come riding a donkey. That individual was riding a donkey that night. When will you learn, and when will you stop? But the individual was persistent, that I will not allow you to bury Al-Hasan next to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And she brings some of the people of Bani Umayyah with her, who shoots arrows at the body of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And 3 arrows pierce his body. If you want details, you can read Maqatil al-Talibiyin li Abi al-Faraj al-Isfahani. He's not one of the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, but he's got it in his history for details. And so Imam al-Hussein says, my brother has instructed me not to shed any blood over his burial, so we will bury him in Baqiyah. So they went and they buried him in Baqiyah, where the Shia built him a small shrine, and many people would go visit him until 1928, when the enemies of Allah demolished the shrine of Imam al-Hasan. So until this day and age, Imam al-Hasan lived madloom, died madloom, and is madloom. You go to Baqiyah today, you want to do his ziyarah, they don't let you. In fact, they might arrest you. Tell me about it. later on. But until today, they're still suffering, they're still being oppressed, even though they're in the city of their grandfather Rasulullah, Medina to Rasulullah. They're in the Medina, in their own hometown. They're being oppressed. But we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to inshallah hasten the reappearance of our 12th Imam, Ajjalallahu ta'ala Sharif, so that inshallah we will witness the day when these shrines will be rebuilt again, inshallah. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with the blessings of this generous Imam who is known for his generosity. And we all have a need of his generosity. That may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with his generosity in dunya, in the qabr, and in the akhirah. And we pray to Allah to forgive all our sins and to make us always live the lives of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad and die their death and be resurrected with them inshallah. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. We'll begin now with the